So hi everyone, I'm Phil Richardson. I work at Salesforce here, and I actually work on our partnership with Google. And today I have Neil from Google as well, who's joining us.
Yes, thank you. So Neil French, head up the platforms team within Google Cloud, based in Sydney. So thanks for having me.
No worries, it's good to have you here. So we've got a couple of things to talk about today. We'll talk a little bit about just our partnership with Google. We'll touch a little bit on marketing. If you're here for the last session, some of that might be duplicative, but we won't spend too much time on it. Then we're going to spend most of our time about how we're transforming work together with Google and some of Salesforce's point of view on what it means to work with a productivity solution like G Suite and to work with a public cloud like Google Cloud. And so we'll look at a couple of those sorts of things, and we'll leave some time for Q&A or time to run off to beers early, so it's good. Now, of course, if you've been to a Salesforce presentation, I've got to warn you about our forward-looking statement. And this, of course, reminds you that you should make all your purchasing decisions based on currently available product. The good news is, pretty much everything we're going to talk about and show today is currently available. So that's great news. With a little bit of roadmap at the end, so that's where I'll get you to contain your enthusiasm. So before we get into the meat of the partnership, one thing I want to talk about a little bit, which is Google runs on Salesforce, right? And like, you guys are an amazing customer. You guys have done amazing work with us. Neil, do you want to talk a little bit about how Salesforce is viewed within Google?
Yeah, absolutely. I was lucky enough to be here last year, just over there. I must admit, maybe because you weren't here, Phil, it was a much smaller arena they gave me, so it's much larger this time. And I was fortunate to be able to announce some of the partnership a year ago. And I think genuinely, of everything that we announce, we use internally. Every desktop that I look at around in the Google offices, we're running G Suite, and the other screen, we're running Salesforce. So it's really exciting for myself, who runs a sales team, to have all of these new features and integrations so that we can actually be even more impactful internally. So I know there's lots of technology partnerships out there, but we use everything from Salesforce that we really love to kind of talk to our customers about. So it's really exciting. And seeing the progress from the announcement last year to the engineering investment to continue to really drive this partnership is just great to see.
Yeah. But on the other side, we're also massive customers of Google here at Salesforce. So we're at the Google Analytics on our website to G Suite. So we're pretty much the same. If you walk into our offices, it's G Suite, it's Salesforce. That's how we run our business completely. You know, I carry a Chromebook as my laptop, so I'm even post-Apple, which isn't necessarily everyone in my business yet, but we have 5,000 Chromebooks within our business. We did over 1.5 billion minutes on Google Meet last year, which is pretty amazing. We have Google Chromebooks, Google Chrome boxes in every one of our meeting rooms globally, so you can just walk in, click Start Meeting, and anywhere in our global offices, you'll have an amazing experience with Google Meet. And of course, we've been great Gmail and G Suite customers for a long time as well. And as an enterprise with, I think, 36,000 employees now, we've been running and scaling our business for a number of years with G Suite. So we're incredibly happy customers as well. When I think about our partnership with Google, there are 3 pillars in our team that we like to think about. The first one is marketing. Our marketing capabilities and Google's marketing capabilities is an unparalleled set of integrations in the industry, and I'll touch on them in a second. The work that we do with G Suite, I think, is equally important. The work that your users and your businesses happen, where productivity and process-based CRM and things like that coming together are incredibly important. And one thing I'll touch on just very, very briefly is the fact that we're also big Google Cloud customers. So we announced a little while back that we will be taking advantage of Google Cloud as one of our preferred public cloud providers, and you will see Salesforce new regions actually being launched on top of GCP, which is hugely exciting for both companies. So a big commitment by Salesforce to Google. So let's touch quickly on that marketing piece. If you weren't at the previous session, I think this is just important to sort of ground you on some of the things that we're doing. When you think about the world of our marketing capabilities at Salesforce, things like web analytics and ads are a hugely important part of a marketer's day. And our customers have been telling us for many years that they were trying to stitch together all the data from GA360 and from Google Ad Studio together with their Salesforce Marketing Cloud and Sales Cloud, and it was super tough. And what we wanted to do was move away from customers having to wire everything together and pay lots of expensive consultants, because no one wants that. It's kind of painful. And we worked together to think about how could we build a privacy compliant, highly scalable, near real-time integration that's turnkey? So you can just go in, click a button, make the data flow in a safe and secure manner between our capabilities on both sides. And so we announced this 2 Dreamforces ago. We shipped it a few months later. Our engineering teams continue to work together every day, really closely, and we keep adding more and more capabilities. So if you use our marketing capabilities or are thinking about using our marketing capabilities, you definitely want to check this out, and there'll be some links a little later. But what I really want to talk today is about how we think about work. Work's something we all do, unfortunately. And when we think about sales users especially, what we've found in some research here is that selling, unfortunately, is taking a backseat to other tasks. Ultimately, you pay your salespeople not to read emails, not to do slides. You pay them to sell, to move your business forward. And the reality is that anything that you can do to get them out in front of a customer, to get them on a phone with a customer, is going to drive and make your business more successful. And so what we've wanted to do in the work that we do with Google is focus on making it more productive. Like, either one of us are not interested in our users using our products more minutes every day. We don't charge you by the minute, right? We want those minutes to be spent with your customers. And so what we found also is that reps are struggling to hit quota, right? They're spending time, number one, managing emails, logging activities in Salesforce, inputting sales data, running around trying to figure out who to connect with, and creating follow-up tasks. I don't know about your business, but in our business, none of those earn us money. None. If you've got a business that earns money out of this, then you've got a great business. See me later, I want some hints, right? So Neil, I don't know, like, do your reps spend a lot of time doing this, you know?
Too much.
Too much.
And I think we're born in the cloud, focused on cloud technologies, but still it holds us back. So I think this is all, again, for me, learning some of these slides the first time I've seen them, it's super interesting insights.
Yeah, so our perspective was, when we came to sort of start thinking about products here, was how can we bring Salesforce into that productivity experience that someone's already having? The reality is that we all open our inbox every morning, after lunch, constantly, maybe all the time. And when we're in our inbox, how can we bring that kind of insight from Salesforce into reading and working your way through your inbox? So let's just think about that for a second. So we call this product Lightning for Gmail. It's generally available. It's part of your subscription. There's nothing extra to pay for it. And what we want to do is bring that magic of Lightning into every email. So let's think about a few things. You get an email from someone. What do? What actually happens there? You look at the to line, the from line, the subject line. You try and pass meaning from what's happening. And you do all of this intuitively, right? So you look about who's it from? Who is Neil? What does Neil do at Google? You try and remember, is this person important? Are they not important? What's their job title? Who do they work for? What have we got going on at that customer? We're able to bring those insights automatically into every email. So you can open an email and see, what do the people on that email actually do? Because Salesforce knows that. What are we doing at that company? What are the open opportunities? Where are things at? Are there any customer service cases we have to worry about? Those things we bring into that. But the other thing that we know is that every one of your businesses is different. Right? We talk about this a lot, about the power of metadata, the power of customization. So that side pane there is customizable. You'll see on the little GIF that's hopefully coming up on the next screen. We let you change what's important to you inside that through customization, through point and click customization. So that map that hopefully is showing on the screen there, that's actually a custom Lightning component. So you can actually build custom apps on the Salesforce platform, but deploy them into Gmail, for example, which is hugely powerful to making your reps productive. So I'm sure, at Google, you guys have some amazing technology about how people are doing their own ad spend, looking at all your own data. You're able to bring that in here.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, who actually is a G Suite user in the audience? I presume you're all Salesforce. Oh, wonderful. So it's, we're very humbled that G Suite is 5 million businesses globally and over 1 billion users. What's really interesting is, hopefully you've seen the new UI and with a lot of AI built into that to start to help doing auto reply and begin to help you with your emails. We're seeing that 20% of our users are now utilizing these sorts of technologies to really drive that speed, to really drive that intelligence. So 20% of 1 billion is 200 million people in the last 6 months since we launched these sorts of technologies with AI built into the smarts of Gmail. So I think we're doing our best to kind of build that functionality natively into Gmail, and then combined with a lot of the great things that you're talking about, I just think delivers a great customer experience.
And that's a great segue to like how we think about our AI cooperating together. Because the reality is that every large major technology company is investing heavily in artificial intelligence. And at Salesforce, we're obviously no stranger to that. You've seen our Einsteins around and lots of stuff and all the keynotes and all the products that you use every day. And so we work really, really closely with Google on artificial intelligence initiatives. And we've got some really cool stuff I can't talk about just yet.
Next year.
Next year we'll talk about it, that we're working on in some other areas of our business. But one great example of where we can help you there is like, help you track your email better, like who's opening the emails, how that's working within your sales processing, reminders to send emails later, because we know that email and the frequency of email and when do you send them is really, really important, whether you're an enterprise sales rep or a high velocity sales rep or you're doing customer service. It's really important to optimize those types of communications. And by doing that with the kind of AI we have in the side pane here, but working with Google to make sure we're not overlapping too much. It's not confusing about who's doing what. You guys have amazing smart replies. We have some canned replies built on the type of AI data that we hold. And how can we work together to make that work well? So you'll see a lot of those types of features as we work together there. The next thing I want to touch on briefly is calendar integration. And calendars, from a software engineering perspective, are rather complex things, unfortunately. You know, they're built on sort of medieval technology, right? They have like weird business rules. They change a lot. If you've ever done weird time zone changes and leap seconds, you'll know what I'm talking about. And there's weird standards you have to work with. And so syncing calendar technologies together, it's really, really tough. And anyone who's been in this industry for a long time is going to have some war stories here. And so we've been working really, really hard for a long time on getting our calendar syncing really robust and really bulletproof, and make sure it handles those exceptions and errors really, really well. Because the reality is that you're going to want to view events and activities and types of occurrences in calendars inside your CRM system. Because you're going to want to view things through a time-based lens. And the calendar sometimes is a great way to look at those sorts of things. But you also have the calendar you carry in your pocket and on your screen every day that drives where you're supposed to be. So I'm a great Salesforce user, but my Google Calendar tells me where I'm supposed to be every day of the year, right? Every minute of the year, unfortunately. The reality is, but I also need to reflect that against the customers I work with, the partners I work with back in Salesforce, because that drives levels of accountability and measurement, but it also drives our artificial intelligence. The more that Salesforce knows about what I work on, the more it can predict what I'm supposed to do. And you're going to see that as an increasing theme. So getting your synchronization level right on activities helps us predict how your business can run better. So that's an important thing as well. Yeah. And Google Calendar is really, really great. So if you're not a G Suite customer, it's an amazing product. You know, you couldn't do better than GCal, frankly.
We could get you in a sales commission. This is great. Yeah, keep going. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk later. And Google Drive's important as well. So our business, everything's in Google Drive. That's where we store everything. But the reality is you need to store that against records in Salesforce. So like whether it be an account, a contact, a custom object, you name it, it's going to have files that you're going to want to associate with it. So the old world of business systems was you'd have to download it from your file storage or from a file share onto your local machine, and then you'd have to upload it into Salesforce, and that would be terrible, because then we'd have to store the file again, it would become out of date, it would have different permissions, and what a nightmare. So a few years ago, we built a technology called Files Connect, and which works amazingly well with G Drive, which basically says, inside that same UI for attaching a file, instead of saying I want to grab that file from my local machine, link it to this file over in G Drive. So it's one copy, it's not duplicated, and then it's attached to that record. So when we introduced this in our own business, previously we had tons and tons of files stored in Salesforce, we were now able to reduce file duplication massively. So that's great from like storing bytes and stuff like that. But more importantly, it meant people were on the same page. Those weird versions of things getting out of date started to disappear in our business.
It's interesting just on Drive, one of the, it's information overload, it's file overload, but one of the areas we've been really focused on is how do we serve up the right piece of content or right file at the right time? And again, hopefully you've noticed it in the last few months, but really using AI to look at what have you been doing in your email, looking at your calendar as to which meeting you're going to next, who have you been chatting to using Hangouts chat, and begin to serve up with, the target is 95% accuracy. Drive will just know what file you want, and I think certainly in the last few months it's beginning to train that data really well. So I urge you to have a look at, if you're an existing Drive user, these smarts of being able to serve the right content at the right time has been a huge step forward, because nobody likes digging into Drive whenever you're running late for that meeting. So I think, again, really exciting innovation around the drives and the file storage space.
It's very cool. And then one thing that I'm incredibly excited about, because you guys built it, which is our connector with Google Sheets, which we've had amazing adoption since it launched at Dreamforce just a few months ago. And so if you're a Google Sheets user today, go and install the add-in. It's super easy. It's in the G Suite marketplace today. Our friends at Google built this one. It's amazing. It's a great example. Like, we built some stuff in the partnership. They built some stuff in the partnership. Sometimes we build it together. It's very cool. And you can just grab that data. You can do mass edits if you want. You can turn that off because that can be a little scary. But it's so easy to just grab that data, because the reality is that sometimes a spreadsheet's just the best way to go and explore that data. It makes sense. And while we have great analytics experiences and great reports and lists, we want to make sure that we're there where our customers want to do business. Sometimes that's a spreadsheet, sometimes it's not. So it's a great option to look into. Very cool.
It's one that I use all the time in terms of using Sheets. One of the great features of Sheets, obviously, is that it updates in real time, but having those updates in real time back into Salesforce without having to go and update has just been a real game changer for us internally.
And it definitely respects all our sharing and permissions and things like that. It isn't a backdoor to do anything crazy, so it's all good. So another thing that we announced at Dreamforce that's in pilot right now, so it's not generally available, so that's that caveat, is the Lightning Object Creator. So you might have like a spreadsheet of data in your business that you've been like beavering away at, and it just gets to the point where managing something out of a spreadsheet, it's time to graduate to like a real app. And so the Object Creator is a great way of pointing Salesforce at that spreadsheet and saying, hey, here's the schema and the data of what my app needs to look like. I want you to transform that now into Lightning Objects and then turn that into an app which you can use on the desktop and your phone. So it's a really great way to graduate a business process that started in a spreadsheet. We all have them. We have them in our company as well. Why wouldn't you? It's a great way to start a business process and then graduate that up. So really, definitely a great thing to look forward to when that's generally available. See me later. I think I can probably get you into the pilot. Now, one thing I do want to touch on quickly is Einstein Analytics and BigQuery. I see a lot of customers out there beginning to adopt these massively scalable, flexible schema data warehouses like BigQuery. They're an absolute sleeper hit in the industry, maybe not so much of a sleeper hit now. You can pour massive amounts of data in there. We do at Salesforce with BigQuery as well. But the reality is that collecting the data is only half the story. Now, you can collect them, you can run queries faster and cheaper than you've ever before, but getting that data out into what we call at Salesforce actionable analytics is super important. How do you get that data into the hands of your executives on their phones? How do you get that hands into like dashboards and meetings and things like that? Well, our connector with Einstein Analytics, formerly known as the Analytics Cloud, is really amazing for that. And it's another example where we wanted to make it super easy. So it's a turnkey connector. It's already there as part of the product. You just point it at and saying, yep, I'm using BigQuery or Spanner, and I want to pull that data directly out and just start querying it really easily in our visual interface. So it's a great way of those two investments working together. And we have a lot of big customers doing phenomenal amounts of data inside BigQuery with Einstein Analytics.
I think maybe just point to note that BigQuery was launched relatively recently in Australia for us. within our local data center. So if perhaps it's the first time you've heard about BigQuery or indeed Spanner, we have dedicated teams based across Australia that we would love to kind of connect with you guys and help, because from a cloud platform perspective, we're, I guess, a little bit the new kids in the block in the enterprise space, but there's hundreds of people in the office over just across the road in Piermont that would love to help you with these sorts of things. So rest assured, there's a lot of resources to help if you want to, if and when you want to roll these sorts of technologies out.
Yeah, it's a very strong technology. I highly recommend it. So we'll skip over one. So let's talk a little bit about our roadmap, about where things are going with the partnership. So most of the stuff you're seeing is already generally available, but we won't stop there. So we have dedicated engineering teams on every single integration that we've shown already. So we have a whole pack of people working on Lightning for Gmail in San Francisco. Same with the calendar synchronization, Files Connect, a great team out of France, actually.
Right.
They have an amazing office right next to the Eiffel Tower. It's amazing. I love visiting that office. The Sheets connector, you guys have a dedicated team working on that, which is great. The connectors also have dedicated teams as part of the Einstein Analytics team. So what are you going to see in 2019? This is what the teams are working on. You see us go a lot deeper with Gmail Mobile. So if you use an iPhone or an Android phone, you definitely want to be using those native Gmail apps that they have there, not necessarily like the native iOS maps, because you can just do so much more when reading your Gmail and Gmail calendar there. So definitely check them out, and we're getting a lot more into that. You're going to see us doing a lot more Google Sheets integration inside Lightning, and you're going to see us change to Gmail's new add-on framework. So a little bit of what the Americans call inside baseball there is that Google are moving away from the Chrome extension model to a new add-on framework, and we're working right in the trenches there with you guys to sort of adopt that new framework and move some of our things over technically. So there's a bit of work there. And you also see us adopt more Google translation features as well in our communities product. Is something we're working really, really strongly on.
And I think as well, when we look at our partner ecosystem, and particularly in Australia, many of our partners are Salesforce partners and Google Cloud partners. So when you look at this and you think this is great, but it's a little scary or complex, feel free to kind of reach out to your partner, because the chances are they'll be both have deep technical expertise across both Salesforce and Cloud, which is great. And it's been no coincidence that that's the case. I've really been targeting Salesforce partners to really upskill them on the cloud platform and vice versa.
And lastly, I just want to leave you with a really simple call to action, which is check out some of the courses on Trailhead today that'll help you take advantage of this technology. So if you want to learn like how to work with Gmail, just go to Trailhead, search for Gmail. If you want to learn more about BigQuery, look there for BigQuery. It'll help you get started on BigQuery and how to work with Einstein Analytics. Also, if you want to learn more about our Google Analytics integration, there's a lot of great content there as well. And it's something we're doing a lot with our strategic partners, is bringing content about those partners and about their technologies onto Trailhead. So as a Salesforce customer who might not be familiar with BigQuery or Google Analytics, it's a great place to start your learning journey with that before maybe going off to some of the more dedicated kind of e-learning that you guys have over on the Google side as well. So definitely worth checking out there on Trailhead. And I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about Trailhead here this week with the launch of my Trailhead this morning, which is very exciting as well. So I think you guys are big Trailhead customers at Google as well.
Right.
So we've got a little bit of time left before I think drinks are served. So it's okay if you don't want to ask any questions, but happy to take some questions. It's probably easy to come up to the front given the weird kind of silent disco thing we've got. And Neil and I would be happy to answer them. But thank you very much, and I hope you had a great City World tour. So.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Phil.
Thanks, Neil.
Cheers.